Good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at XRP, some Bitcoin, and the Sigma coin, along with X-Force's awesomeness. All right, so taking a look at some things that have changed since yesterday. So the anticipation was that we were ultimately going to be seeing a ABC move a five-way move up to the upside with a rising leading angle, and we were going to have an ABC correction that was going to hold the higher low, not exceeding roughly 223, and or the official low, resetting the count or adjusting where we are in this whole thing below the 218. Well, we did. We went below it, and we went to an extreme level, which was negative 3 deviations, which is extremely far away from this point, which is the fair market value. So showing you, so that now changed our count. So now we have an ABC up rather than the leading diagonal, and now this is going to be a completion of this larger flat structure with a five-wave move to the downside. Okay, this ultimately though is going to result in most likely the price action returning to fair market value and crossing over into this wedge. And we have quite a few confluences along the way that we got to break through. So we got our -1 deviation, some VWAPs from this breakdown here that we got to see our way through, which we might get stuck kind of in this range, and then push up for a final move to an 8 fair market value and 21-day moving average, all centered right here in this area. So the expectation is we move up, sideways up into here, and then reject and roll over and do one more low, ultimately with a wave 1, wave 2, and then a wave 3, 4, and 5 to finish out our completion of the 5-wave move to the downside. So this ultimately, just showing this here on the more simplistic view, you're really just going to have a return to fair market value, which takes us up to here, and we may get a squeeze up to 248 because you can see this inefficiency when we look at the price action right here. So there's this gap that hasn't actually been filled. So if we use our fixed range volume profile, we go from the breakdown, you can see that moving forward here, there's this gap potentially right here, resistance right there, another gap in volume right here. So we're going to have a struggle here and then a breakout probably up to this level or even up to the fair market value, and then we can't sustain it and we roll over. So that's the anticipation of where we are right now. Obviously, if things change and we get a shorter, shallower move, then we'll take it and we'll move our way down here. So, but we'll be looking for a 5-3-5 move to the upside. And so now that takes us forward to X-Force. So here's his awesomeness that he's doing, and what he identified here on Bitcoin is the same completion of the flat. So we had the completion of wave 1, an ABC down, ABC up, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave to the move to the downside. So we still got to do wave 4 to complete everything. And this takes us right back up into this region here, which would be about 106. And if we go back to Bitcoin, if this is our kind of area there of chop, that too would be a resistance point. So I would imagine anything between 237 to 243 is where we'll get a rejection on XRP rolling over and following Bitcoin to complete the flat that X-Force has identified as a potential setup, drawing and closing out these final gaps into the 97 to 91 region that are over here on the left. And it'll be a very violent move. And it may be more shallow than this timeline here, so it may not take all of November to move. But I would expect, since XRP is so tied to Bitcoin right now, that this will ultimately move up, find resistance right here in the supply, maybe close the gap right here into the major resistance at 250, and then blap, one more smackdown, just to get everybody all riled up here at the end. Then we're done. Now we can start moving off of these lows. So the sweep of this final low ultimately resulted in our account changing. So we had our corrective structure rather than an impulsive one. And then because we lost the higher low, we ended up doing a 1, 2, 3, 4. And this will be hopefully a 4 up to here. And then one more shallow 5th back down into this 208. Probably back into this -3 deviations again. Probably 205er is where I would expect we would make it down to. And so yes, that's ultimately the setup that we're seeing right now here on XRP. And the Sigma coin did really well during that time, though. So here's what we end up having on the 1 hour. So with this final capitulation move of its same structure that it saw, it ended up holding a higher low. So you can see that the lows ended up being a higher one, just barely, even with XRP pushing down the asset. and we've reclaimed and are maintaining $1 million market cap again, which is spectacular. So the bottom looks like it's moving its way in and wrapping up here for Sigma. We will probably, with the growth or the explosion, probably move back up of XRP back into this region and then come back down and do one more back test. And if we're really lucky, with all of the new advents and new people coming into the space, we could possibly even see a breakout to this level and then a back test of the wedge with XRP doing that final sweep to the low. And that would be an amazing deviation from the two, where this guy just doesn't have that same collapse. But I'm pretty excited for what Sigma is accomplishing and doing. And ultimately, we're going to continue to see, in my opinion, some great price action to the upside. So while we continue to chop through XRP land. So that's basically how we're ultimately looking at it. Sigma's looking great. Here's your 12-hour. 3 days getting, I think, a little done. Nope, we're just having a little bit of a cross here. So considering what XRP did, that's not too bad. We probably will continue and move higher up still as we push into the new levels. Let's see what our daily looks like. Daily's reset. There you go. So that would be a nice, lovely little move back up on the RSI to the top of the range. So I think a breakout and a back test is probably likely after a completion of a successful wave 1, wave 2 with the higher low over here in the Sigma coin. So yay. And then we've got Bitcoin getting ready to roll back up, probably close the inefficiencies in this region, reject somewhere through here. And then it's got its same volume gap that it's got, smacking it down. X-Force giving you the play and the structure for how that's going to look. Probably a rejection again right below that wave A that we're going to have for the ABC of wave 3. And then we're going to have finally XRP do a similar move up into this region of 238 to the potential inefficiency at 250, 249, 250, and then roll over for one more level. And this hopefully can be done here in the next few days. Get our final flush, and then we're all done. We can get out of here. So probably in the next couple weeks, realistically, just based off the length of time. So this right here was the 27th. So we took a period of our 2 weeks, I believe, to go from the high. So there's your high on the 27th to where we are now. So we've only been here for a week. So with how this is moving, I would imagine that we won't be here for much longer. So I could say realistically, we'd probably be wrapping this up here into middle of November with a kind of swing up and swing back down again with just how fast these happen. Because, this move felt like forever in a year, but we only were up here for this breakdown for a total of 2 days, 2.5 days. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful, and we'll check in tomorrow. Thanks for watching.